Hello, everybody. Welcome to Florida Friendly Landscaping Program's homeowner webinar for July. I am going to wait for just a minute or two so that people can come into the room or into the webinar. In the meantime, why don't you let us know in the chat where you're from? And a little bit later, after we've done all our housekeeping, we're going to shut down the chat and open the question and answer section, which is where we'd like you to post your questions. So, and we'll answer those at the end. So if you would, let us know where you're from. So we've got one from Manatee County. Everybody's still trickling in, I think. Sarasota and Orange, Brevard, Walton. We usually get a lot of different counties that come and watch. Broward and Pensacola, Apopka, Orange County. Let me give it one more minute here. I think we might have a relatively small group. I think people are away on vacation a lot this June or July, I'm sorry. So let's see. Oh, Milton and Santa Rosa. More from Pinellas. Let's give it 30 more seconds and then we'll go ahead and start. And Marion, you've got one for Marion in there. All right, well, as people are still rolling in, I'll just start introducing the topic today. As I said, it's the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program's Homeowner Webinar Series. We give it every third Tuesday of the month at 11 a.m. My name is Jen Marvin, and I'm the Florida Friendly Landscaping Home Landscapes Statewide Coordinator. Today we have Amanda Marek from Marion County presenting Foodscaping. Just a few housekeeping things. Your microphones have been muted. If you have questions, please type them in the Q&A box instead of the chat box. Like I said, it will be closed as soon as Amanda starts her presentation. We'll answer the questions at the end of the presentation. And then also please stick around to answer the survey that we have. It helps all of our guest speakers report what they've done at the end of the year. It helps us find out what you want to know and other topics that we could be presenting. We've been doing this for I think 4 years now, and sometimes it's hard to think more topics after 48 webinars. So on a related note, in November, we will have an Ask the Expert panel instead of our one person presenting webinar. The questions should be submitted in advance on the survey form. So, where there's the notes area or a blank area, just put a question or a subject that you'd like to know more about. And I'll start browsing them again this week so I can set up those experts to answer all of your questions. Let's see. Also, our Florida Friendly Landscaping Awards program is open for entry. We are looking for submissions from those of you with great Florida friendly yards or communities, or are interested in submitting before and after photos of your Florida friendly landscape. You can find the entry form on our homepage, floridafriendlylandscaping.com. Scroll down to the middle there's a graphic for the awards. Click on that and you can enter your property or your community or somebody else's even. There are the categories listed there and the instructions. The deadline for submission is September 15th, and these awards will be presented at the Master Gardener conference this year in October. So let me introduce our speaker. Amanda Marek has been serving as the Florida Friendly Landscaping Agent in her hometown of Marion County since 2017. She is a graduate from the University of Florida and is proud to help her community and communities and homeowners adopt more sustainable landscaping practices to conserve Florida's invaluable natural resources. Amanda, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm very excited to hear about your foodscaping program. So please take it away.
Perfect. Good morning, everyone. So as Jen said, my name is Amanda Marek. This program we've been doing for about 4 years, well, since the pandemic, when everyone was calling us, working from home, looking outside at their yards, and they would call us repeatedly saying, I want something that's pretty, but I want to be able to eat it. So here came the Florida Friendly Foodscaping Program with myself and our sustainable ag agent, Mr. Mark Bailey, who you see listed there. I do the pretty stuff. I do the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program here in Marion County. We are housed out of Ocala, but we go all around the county. Whereas Mark does the food. He does anything edible. So we combine forces, and which gave rise to this program, which has been a lot of fun. We did put in a demonstration garden here in Ocala off of Baseline Road. If any of you guys are in Marion County or surrounding areas, we will have this program in person. It'll be a hybrid program on August 13th here at our office. But if you want to see that in-person demonstration garden, anyone who takes part in that program on August 13th is then invited to the Edible Garden Tour on August 15th. And if you follow our Marion County Master Gardener Facebook page, you'll also get alert to that flyer, which will be up in the next week or so. Mark's been out at a conference, so we're a little bit later than we usually like to be. But Florida Friendly Landscaping, I do want to mention, I did see someone as far south as Punta Gorda. Now, given that we are Marion County, the majority, if not all of the plants that we're going to talk about today are suitable for zone 9A, 9B, even 8B. So anywhere in that 8 to 9B range, which is the vast majority of the state, you're good to go. But for those of you way south, like Punta Gorda, you have more tropical plants you can play with that the rest of us can't, or at least not reliably. And that's what we're really focusing on here, are perennial plants that are reliable, productive with minimal maintenance. So do be aware if you are, way south and you want specific recommendations for your zone in, 10 or 11, then certainly please reach out to your local county extension service. There is an extension service in every county in the state, and they will be better equipped to recommend specific plants for your zone outside of that 8 to 9B range that we'll be talking about today. The good news is we are partnering with agents around the state in North, Central, and South Florida to expand this program. So it won't just be the 8 to 9 range. We are going to expand it and produce more publications and resources to encompass the entire state. So definitely more to come. So let's go ahead and get started. I did first want to thank our sponsors here, at least in Marion County. We had the Florida Friendly Landscaping Program, funded through DEP, helped us get the demonstration garden up and running. Local nurseries such as Scrubland Farms, Crone's Cradle, and then the Marion County Board of County Commissioners and the hospital district as well. So we wanted to definitely put in a plug and a big thank you for them. Now, the Edible Ornamental Landscaping Guide for North Central Florida. This is a publication we came out with a couple of years ago. Now, this we are working on updating. So actually it was like a year or two after this came out, the zones changed. So of course the climate's changing, our zones have all moved up. So this publication is still very useful. It dives into a lot more detail than I can possibly cover in an hour. So do make sure if you want to dive into more detail, there's a very useful summary table at the end of this publication. Go ahead and visit that. But we are working on a statewide Florida Friendly Foodscaping Guide that will encompass, like I mentioned, those tropical and subtropical plants for the entire state. So first, edibles for your landscape. What is edible ornamental landscaping? The Florida Friendly principles and how we put those into practice. We'll cover some edible ornamental fruit trees and shrubs, vines, vegetables, herbs, and more. And on the picture on the right-hand side, just about every photo here I have taken or Mark Bailey has taken, my son calls this the pickle plant. That beautiful moss rose purslane, the leaves taste like pickles. So when we get home every day, they either make a beeline for our blueberry plants in the front, or my son will make a beeline for the Everglades tomatoes or his little pickle plant, as he calls it. So edible landscapes, this really is summarized very well in an older document that Dr. Gail Hansen came out with. And it intermixes the non-edible ornamental plants with edibles. It really can be anything you want it to be, anything that you like to eat, that you find attractive, as long as the plants are Florida friendly, meaning they're not invasive exotic. They attract wildlife, which I know can be a catch-22, okay? You don't want the birds getting to your blueberries before you do, but it's still part of being Florida friendly, supporting wildlife, particularly pollinators. So that is one thing that I really emphasize, especially when we get into herbs, is attracting those pollinators. You want landscaping that is diverse, attractive, and low maintenance. So I spent a lot of my times in HOA communities where it's the same 5 to 8 species of plants, few of any bloom, none produce fruit, and that's really not great for wildlife, and you're not getting anything out of it either, other than just the aesthetics. So we certainly want to have some attractive, diverse, low maintenance plants that are also edible, but also very Florida friendly and will really need not much from you. So you'll see here drought tolerant. Once plants get established, we really don't have to do much with them. And that's really the very first principle of Florida friendly landscaping is right plant, right place. If the right plants are picked for your yard, they will need less from you. Plants are living things. They have wants, they have needs, just like you and I. So if you select the plants to match your site, meaning your soil, your sunlight, etc., they will need less maintenance. That's water, that's fertilizer, that's, all the chemical pesticides, and they'll still be attractive and productive. So that's really what we're emphasizing with Florida friendly landscaping. And like Jen had alluded to, the Florida friendly website, which is listed there, certainly take a look at that site. There are endless resources, including our plant guide and the plant app, which is very useful because you can filter according to your specific needs. So design considerations. Don't gasket a soil test. This is very important for plants that really need acidic soil, for example. Majority of the communities that I go to are newer development. I don't know where you specifically are, but here in Ocala, Marion County, we have definitely been found. It seems like everyone in the United States and elsewhere are moving to Ocala. So we have major development, and all of that new development really has pretty poor soil, high pH, very little nutrients. So especially if you are in a relatively new area that's less than 10 years old, especially, I would definitely recommend you reach out to your local county extension service and at the very least test your pH. Here we only charge $2 a sample. UF, they'll charge $3. And that $2 or $3 can really save you a lot of heartache down the road. Spacing, this is probably, other than, wrong plant, wrong place and overwatering, spacing is probably the biggest mistake I run into when I do site visits for homeowners. It's really an easy mistake to make. Homeowners and landscape professionals will do it. The plants start cute and little, but just like my kids, they don't stay cute and little forever. They grow. Well, plants do the same thing. And before you know it, that cute little plant is no longer fitting in the space that you planted it. It's either growing into the side of your house, growing into each other, growing into the pool and worst case scenario, the roots are growing into your septic system or uprooting a driveway. So many issues can be avoided right from the get-go by making sure you allow the proper space for your plants. And that not only is better for your house, and any infrastructure you have around it, it's also better for the plant. It'll have fewer pests and disease issues. This is especially important for vines. Vines they grow very aggressively sometimes and like to smother. So being sure, especially for things like that, which we'll mention later on, Florida Friendly Landscaping does recommend at least 2.5 to 3 feet from the foundation of any building for shrubs. For trees, like a small to medium-sized tree, like a loquat or Japanese persimmon, it is recommended at least 15 feet. You can get away with 10, but I would still try to recommend that 15-foot distance if you can. So how do you measure spacing? It is not on the side of the plant like you might think. You actually measure from the center of the plant to the center of the next. So an example here, these trees get 30 feet wide at maturity, such as this fig, 30 feet wide at maturity. Let's say, you know, that leaves 15 feet on one, okay? 15 feet on the other. So you're going to want those plants to be at least 30 feet apart for proper airflow, proper spacing. And this picture I really, really like because even if you don't have gutters, you always want to have your plants around your home spaced forward of the drip line. So here's the drip line. Here's your plants, 2.5, preferably 3 feet from the foundation. And the other benefit besides reduced pest disease issues, reduced algae growing on your house, the rainfall. It's free water. You don't have to constantly water that plant if it's getting that proper rainfall, which planting it forward of the drip line will do. So this is what I was talking about with the zone. This is what has changed as of last year. So here we are, I'm in Marion County, which is centered. Now, when I was a kid, we were split 8B, 9A. And I still to this day remember winters with icicles growing on our orange trees, ice in the fountains in St. Augustine. And we just really are not seeing that anymore. It changed last couple of years. We were zone 9A. Then as of last year, we've changed again, and Marion County is now split. So 9A is pretty much this split here, and all of you, let me go back. So 9A, you are pretty much this entire area. There's a tiny little snippet of 8B still left way up in the Panhandle, but Pensacola, Panama, all of these areas, Nassau, Duval, Baker, Levy, all of this is now zone 9A. And then 9B, which means the temperatures can get down to about 25 to 30 degrees in the winter. You now encompass the southern half of Marion County, Lake, Citrus, Pasco. Let's go on up in here into St. John's, Flagler, and Volusia, and a little bit here in the central, more central part. So when I say that most of the state really is 9A, 9B, it's all of this. Now, as you go further south, that's when you're going to start getting into the 10 region. Those are going to be more, especially down here, really tropical plants. So if you do live here, okay, let's see, south of Fort Myers, this whole area here, I would highly encourage you to reach out to your local county extension service because there will be some tropical plants you really can have fun with. Whereas the rest of us throughout Florida, which is subtropical, may struggle with. So when you're selecting your plants, choose those suitable for your hardiness zone. Select low chill varieties, which is even more critical now that we're seeing less and less chill hours, which if you're not familiar, it is temperatures that are above freezing, but below 43, 45 degrees. Those are called chill hours. That's why you don't see plants like apples. Apples need more chill hours than we can get to be productive. And even some other stone fruits like peaches, plums, nectarines, they can be very inconsistent because of those lack of chill hours. If you want to kind of push the boundary a little bit and you have less cold hardy plants for your zone, you can trick the system a little bit. And plant those on the southwest side near pavement or even under large trees will help. And keep in mind as those plants mature, the light will change as well. Now, watering really is the big one. Florida friendly plants, once they are established, really won't need much of any water from you, but it's getting to that establishment point that is critical. The last thing you want to do is go through all of this design, plant selection, getting them in the ground, and then you don't give them regular water and they struggle, they die, they don't thrive. So plants that are right plant, right place will need little to no irrigation after establishment. For trees, that's usually a year to year and a half. Okay, so the larger the plant, the longer it'll take to get established. So trees, it's usually a year, year and a half. That does not mean you have to water every single day, but give them daily water for the first month or two, then you start tapering it down. But if we have a severe drought in that year, year and a half, make sure someone is there to water, or better yet, have an irrigation system. We like to promote micro irrigation, which is pictured here. This is at our demonstration garden. We use the little emitters. I do prefer the emitters over the drip tubing or drip tape, just because you can see it better. Sometimes, especially under mulch, it's hard to see that soaker hose or that drip tape. And then, the smaller plant shrubs, depending on how woody they are and the size when you plant them, roughly 2 months to 6 months before they're established. And then the really smaller guys, the more vegetative plants, they may be well established after, a month and a half to 2 months. They're on their own. So it really depends on the size of the plant. But micro irrigation, you can even get like a $15 timer, and then you won't have to be watching it every single day or out hand watering. Personally, I hand water everything, but it admittedly gets to be a lot, especially when it's 110 degrees outside. So having a micro irrigation system that is just watering the roots, it conserves water, reduces pest and disease issues, and you can move it and adjust it accordingly. So you can, once a plant is established, you can easily move it elsewhere if you wish. And then lastly, for design considerations, intermixing evergreen and deciduous. So pictured here is an HOA community here in Ocala. This is a beautyberry bush, which they had pruned gorgeously in their backyard. This is a lovely native plant that does get edible fruit. The flower is very attractive to pollinators, but it's deciduous, so it will lose its leaves in the winter. So having an intermix of annuals, winter annuals, evergreen plants, so you always have that color in that cover. Seasonality, having plants, going back to having a diverse mix of plants, things that bloom or fruit different seasons. And this is a big one. Make sure you get HOA approval first. There is a new HOA rule that will not prohibit, because in the past HOAs would say, no, you cannot have a vegetable garden in the backyard. New rules, the HOAs cannot say that anymore. So as long as you're abiding by, keeping it in the backyard, not visible from common areas on Main Road, you are allowed, according to the new state laws, to have vegetable gardens in the backyard. But regardless, we do always emphasize you get HOA approval before you change the current landscaping, and really be careful with pesticides. This includes not just, what you think of a pesticide to kill a bug, it also includes weed killers. So make sure if you have a landscape company or if your neighbor has a landscape company that you vocalize and let them know, hey, these are edibles. Please do not spray in these beds or don't spray anywhere in the area, since a lot of chemicals can drift, especially if they're sprayed when it's too hot or slightly windy. So we do recommend, anytime you do have a bug or pest issue, send in pictures, or better yet, bring in samples to your local county extension service to help you identify what the critter may be. Vast majority of insects, less than 1% in the entire world, are actually plant pests. Vast majority are completely benign or even beneficial, and we want to protect those. When it's time to plant, make sure you don't plant too deep. Make sure the root ball is visible, or the flare is visible, and the root ball is 1 to 2 inches above the soil line. Same with shrubs, okay? Getting them to establishment point, making sure that root ball is 1 to 2 inches above the soil line. And mulch is great. Mulch helps our plants get established. 2 to 3 inches of mulch is great for weed suppression. Just make sure it's pulled away from the base of your plants. All right, so let's get into the fun part. Edible plants for your landscape. Trees and shrubs. We'll start with one that, if you've never tried, is called a loquat. This has fruit that tastes like a delicious pear. It is one of the best fruits I've ever had. We have multiple out at our demonstration garden, and we're just out there munching on them. These are native to East China and Japan, which have a similar climate as we do. These are evergreen. So I usually like to tell folks these are a good edible alternative to magnolias. You still get that evergreen leaf, but you get loads of fruit. I mean, tons and tons of fruit, usually in the winter months, you know, late winter, very, very early spring. So this one here is loaded with fruit. This was taken in the Denellen area. And no pesticides, no irrigation, no fertilizer. This plant just did its thing. And we have had similar success with our loquats in our demonstration garden. We had irrigation to them for the first year or so, 2 years, and no pesticides, no fertilizer at all. Now, do be aware with loquats, these do take several years before they start to fruit. So the trees that we purchased were about 5 feet tall, and we got fruit that same year. So we don't really, unless you're really, really patient, and I am not, you may not want to start with a seedling because it's gonna take several years before that tree is old enough to actually start bearing fruit. So invest a little bit more money, get like a 5 to 6 foot tall tree, and you can get fruit either that same year or the following year. These do typically grow just as tall as wide, and I have some landscape recommendations here. But if you do, you can also get improved varieties. Usually when you go loquat shopping, they don't have the variety name. That's fine. Just be aware there is a difference. And even the loquats we purchased, we see a visible difference in some of them. The fruit is larger in some, than the others, you know, the fruit might be smaller. It still tastes delicious. But do be aware, just like apples, you don't want to eat the seeds. The seeds have cyanide and they don't taste good. So don't eat the seeds, but the fruit tastes amazing. These are pictures. This is one here at our or actually here at our office. This tree has been there for many years. It's over by our livestock pavilion. And the photo on the right is one of our loquat trees out at Baseline Road at our demonstration garden. So these do typically grow, or the fruit occurs, like I mentioned, flowering late summer, and the flower has a pale white color that is sweet smelling. You'll see actually a lot of beetles. Beetles are a pollinator, believe it or not. So you'll see that flowering occur late summer, early fall, and then that fruit comes in when a lot of other things are not in fruit, which is nice. You really get that seasonality with loquats, with having that fruit in late winter, very early spring, like peak production, at least in our area, was right around March. So you pick that fruit when it's an orangey yellow color, slightly soft, but just like a pear, it does turn brown, especially when you cut it open, it turns brown relatively quickly. You can, you know, kind of minimize that by cutting the fruit and putting them in with seltzer water. Helps. Or like some tonic water, but otherwise make sure you eat it relatively quickly soon after, or preserve them, either dried fruit jams or preserves. These can grow to be about 25 feet tall. That very first picture you saw in the introduction slide was of a gorgeous loquat in the back of an HOA community. And these can, you know, it'll take a little while, but about 25 feet tall and about just as wide. When I was a kid, I knew these as Japanese plum. So if you hear the word or the name Japanese plum, it's the same plant. It's a loquat. So full sun, these really do best in full sun. They can tolerate partial, but full sun really is best. And they, again, evergreen for that full year-round color. Now, the good thing with loquats is because they are evergreen, you can plant shade-loving plants underneath them. Now, do be aware, similar to a magnolia, those leaves are large, they're waxy, they decompose very slowly. So I have seen homeowners get a little annoyed with them because they drop leaves on their patio area. You know, you can just blow those off, use them as mulch, it's not a problem. Or you can have just bare mulch underneath, or like I mentioned, these shade-loving plants. The picture on the left is Persian shield, which is ornamental. Bromeliads are ornamental. Or you can go into the native like Kunti. Kunti is a gorgeous native cycad. or shade-loving edibles, which there's not many, but turmerics and edible gingers are a great example of one that you can certainly incorporate underneath a loquat. And then Japanese persimmon. I was recently introduced to these. They honestly taste like candy. I absolutely love Japanese persimmon. We have some in our demonstration garden, which this picture is from one of our Fuyu Japanese persimmons in our demo garden. But I even sell them at Publix earlier this year, sold in the grocery stores. And yeah, I was gobbling them up left and right. They're super sweet. Similar, they are native to East Asia. The tree itself is not very big, which I have a picture here of one. This is a mature tree in a landscape. So for most yards, it's a very suitable plant because it stays on that small side. Now there is a native persimmon called common persimmon that gets massive. When I worked for the state parks and national parks, we would see them all the time. And these would be very, very large trees. Not only could you not reach the fruit, you may not want to eat the fruit. It's very, very astringent, which means it'll pretty much turn your mouth inside out or like you ate a bunch of cotton. So it's not the greatest. If you wait until they're super, super ripe, almost rotten, you can enjoy them. But as far as the edible factor goes, the Japanese persimmon really are ideal compared to the native. Just be aware, make sure when you go Japanese persimmon shopping, you ask for the non-astringent variety. Fuyu is one of the most common, Matsumoto's another. The astringent varieties, like I mentioned, will literally turn your mouth inside out, and they're not desirable at all. So go for the Fuyus or a non-astringent Japanese persimmon. Full sun, well-drained soil, similar to the loquat, they will not tolerate standing in water. These do stay small, 6 to 8 feet tall and wide, and this homeowner actually had 2 or 3 planted, a good distance from the foundation of her home. 15 feet again is recommended. These fruit are highly attractive to wildlife. The good thing is, unlike some other trees or edibles that drop fruit, and that can be an issue with rats, these fruits stay on the tree. So you don't have to constantly worry about getting out there and harvesting them before they fall. The Japanese persimmon, the fruit itself, even though the tree will lose all of its leaves, it'll still hold on to its fruit, which is very ornamental. It's like tiny little jack-o'-lanterns on the tree, but also helps you with some pest issues that may be a concern. All right, mulberry. This is a very fast-growing plant. You can certainly incorporate into your landscape. Now, there are native mulberry. We have the native red mulberry planted in our demonstration garden, as well as the non-native Florida-friendly black mulberry. Now, do be aware there are invasive mulberries like paper mulberry, which is a fruit that you don't want to eat anyway. So don't get confused with the invasive. You want to avoid paper mulberry. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about here is the native red mulberry, the black mulberry, which has the more desirable fruit, or a dwarf variety like dwarf Thai, dwarf everbearing. Those are all great Florida-friendly edible ornamental trees you can certainly consider for your landscape. The fruit does ripen late spring to summer. I think the last fruit we got, we had a few left over in June, but there wasn't much fruit left come then. So June, July, that's pretty much the end. Although the dwarf everbearing will produce fruit, as the name says, everbearing, it has different seasons. Some of the fruit can get very large. So the dwarf Thai, the Persian mulberry, that fruit will be the size of your thumb. It'll be very large. And if you've never had a mulberry, it's like a very, very sweet blackberry. They are delicious. And don't get confused if you hear like white mulberry or black mulberry. It has nothing to do with the color of the fruit. There are white varieties of mulberry, white fruit, but it may be a black mulberry. So don't get confused with the color. It has nothing to do with the fruit. But do look, most people say the black mulberry has the best fruit, but minimal maintenance, these really do grow very, very tall. I mean, the ones in our demonstration garden, you can take a chainsaw to and it'll keep growing up. But do give them space. The native red mulberry and then the non-native white can grow to be quite large, 40 to 60 foot range. For most folks, the black mulberry will be your go-to. And do be aware, even though it may say dwarf mulberry, it can still get, around 20 feet tall. Dwarf may just be talking about, in this case, the leaf or the fruit is smaller. But the dwarf Thai mulberry, that is still, a relatively small 15 to 20 foot range, but the fruit is very big. So many different varieties to ask your local nurseries for. Now, I did learn recently, because I was acquired one, weeping mulberry, they may not produce fruit, but I did come across a productive contorted mulberry where the trunk is like a zigzag shape and it's very ornamental. Mine's still a little baby guy, so I'm waiting for it to produce some fruit. The last thing I wanted to mention here is if you go for the red mulberry, make sure you get a male and a female tree. They are dioecious, which means there's male and there's female. As you might guess, the female produced the fruit. The male, you'll get flowers, but no fruit. So don't worry with the black mulberry, it's not a concern, but definitely for the native red, you'll want to get multiple plants to make sure you're getting that cross-pollination and hopefully a female. Blueberries, this is one of my absolute favorites. Most of you, when you go purchasing blueberries or blueberry picking, what you're picking off are usually rabbit eye bushes like this size. But there are some smaller native varieties. The blueberry rabbit eye are native, but there's some smaller ones you may not be familiar with. So Southern Highbush, when you look at the UF publications for blueberries, which I highly encourage you to do, they will dive into all the different varieties. And that is very important to pay attention to because with blueberries, you need cross-pollination. For that cross-pollination to work, they have to be the same species. There are two that are commonly found in Florida. One is Southern Highbush, one is rabbit eye. You need two varieties of the same species to get fruit. Now, for most of the state, we do recommend rabbit eye over the Southern Highbush. Southern Highbush are a bit more difficult to grow. They do fruit earlier in the year. So if you're further down south, that may be a good thing for you to get. But the rest of the state, they are more prone to freeze damage and they're shorter lived. The rabbit eye blueberries are much longer lived. They fruit later in the year, so it's less risk of freeze damage. Now, with landscaping with blueberries, this is one of my absolute favorites I alluded to a little bit earlier on. This is also another native. It's called Darrow's blueberry. There's also a native called shiny blueberry you can commonly find. In recent years, the Darrow's blueberries really grown in popularity in many nurseries. The reason I love this one, it grows, 3 foot max. It is evergreen, or I would say semi-evergreen. The foliage, as you can see here on this picture, the new foliage is a beautiful purple color. And then the fall, it'll turn red. So I actually was able to purchase a variety of Darrow's blueberry called Pink Blush. In the entire plant, I have 6 planted around the front of my house. Instead of just a boring old foundation hedge, I have Darrow's blueberries, which are covered in blueberries right now. So they will turn a gorgeous reddish color in the fall. They'll lose some of their leaves, but not all of them. And then in the spring, you enjoy this beautiful pinkish purple foliage, which even now we're in July and the new growth is coming out with that gorgeous color. The Darrow's blueberry, they stay smaller, which is great, but do be aware the fruit is small too. I mean, about the end of my pinky or so. So, which is, it's good for kids. If you have children or grandkids, that can't reach a tall bush, these stay low. When we get home, that way we make a beeline to the blueberry bushes and are loving them. But do beware, they're smaller, but they do taste super sweet. They're very, very good. So different blueberries, different seasons. Mine honestly get morning sun, but afternoon shade, which is okay for a blueberry because they're actually an understory plant. But if you want the best productivity, give them full sun or at least partial sun at minimum. Okay. All right, so getting into a shrub, this one is particularly ornamental. I think I have a picture here of one that I took of a tree at the World Equestrian Center here in Ocala. This is pineapple guava, also known as feijoa. This shrub was taken at a park here in Ocala, so you can keep it as a shrub or as a tree. Many HOAs do plant these as privacy hedges, not realizing they can produce an edible fruit. What's really fun is so is the flower. This gorgeous bloom, and I have another picture here. This gorgeous flower, the petals taste like marshmallows. They are incredible and so much fun. You can get, your kids or your neighbor or your friend like, hey, here, try this flower. It tastes and feels like marshmallow. Now, if you're lucky enough to get one that produces, a lot of folks, they'll say, well, I don't get any flower fruit. Make sure it's not pruned constantly because pruning is going to cut off both the bloom and the fruit. And then try to get a self-fruiting variety. It's a little tricky learning from the nursery what variety you have. It usually just says pineapple guava. My recommendation for you would be to go when they are in fruit, which is now. So they'll start putting off fruit in summer, early fall. Our pineapple guava at the office, we have both shrubs and a tree. We purchased the tree specifically because it was loaded with fruit. That is a good sign. You're going to get fruit later on, but it's pineapple guava. It is related to guava, but it's much, much cold hardier than the guava that you're probably used to. The fruit's okay. It's not something to write home about, but the flower and just the ornamental value of this plant really makes it worth it. This is a photo that I took at World Equestrian Center. They have beautiful specimens all throughout the facility. This is evergreen, and the underside of the leaves is a gorgeous silver color. So it's a very attractive, edible ornamental plant to really consider. And that bloom, ours, the pineapple guava we had at our demonstration garden this year, I've never seen it bloom so beautifully. It was just covered in them. You can see, I've seen the biggest one was actually growing alongside the swamp, the UF football Gator Stadium on campus. It was probably right around 15-20 feet tall, but you can keep it both hedged or like a small to medium sized tree right around 15 feet or so. And we get a lot of questions about citrus, so I didn't want to be amiss and not mention citrus. So as you probably are aware, Florida was known as, like the citrus state. I mean, it's on our state license plate. Unfortunately, 20, 25, maybe even 30 years ago, a new disease hit our citrus industry really, really hard called citrus greening. And it's not the only disease that hits citrus really hard. So to be perfectly honest, we usually do not recommend citrus because it's high needs fertilizer, water, and it has many pest and disease issues. That's not to say you can't have citrus. There are some that are more resistant, and actually have been bred to be resistant to greening. The most popular now that's hit the market is called Sugar Bell. It is a very sweet mandarin hybrid that is citrus greening tolerant. It will still get the disease, but it won't affect the fruit and it won't kill the tree. There are some other varieties that are more tolerant. Mandarin hybrids, key limes, kumquats, and a few others. This weird, funky looking plant is called a finger lime. It's from Australia, something that we've kind of been experimenting with. We did plant one at our demonstration garden here in the southern end of Ocala. We didn't baby it. We're like, you're on your own, bud. It did not survive the freeze. And like, well, now we know. The sugar bell's done great. It's not had any issues, but our finger lime that we did not cover in the winter did not survive the winter. So do be aware, it has got thorns. It's very, very thorny. But the sugar bell is a beautiful tree. It's not thorny. But if you really want to be careful, vast majority of the citrus now produced in the state are actually under large tents. Actually, I saw recently driving down 75, a citrus farm, and all of their new citrus were under these, it kind of looks like a butterfly net. It's under these citrus tents or screens to prevent the psyllid, which looks like a gnat, from flying in and biting the tree, because in its mouth part has the disease. So the whole point of keeping it in a lanai or a screened in area is to keep that little bug from biting the tree and infecting it. So there are some things, if you are dead set on getting citrus, there are some things that you can kind of work around and experiment with. All right, so vines, vegetables, and herbs. A very prolific vine, the muscadine. So many of you may know it as a pest, and it can be a very aggressive native. It is not invasive. There's no such thing as a native invasive, but it is an aggressive native. And part of that is a couple different reasons. Fire is probably the biggest one. You know, Florida used to have wildfires that would burn for hundreds, if not thousands of acres and keep many of these natives like greenbrier and muscadine in check. Well, we have more development, more roads, more people, so we have less wildfires to keep those in check. But you can take advantage. There are many new improved varieties of muscadine for fruit production, and they are delicious. Now, some of them are even hybridized with the European grape that you're used to. So do take a look at the UF EDIS publication on muscadine grapes. There's many different varieties. Some are self-pollinating, some are compatible. At our demonstration garden, we have the Carlos Bronze, which is pictured here, and the Alachua Black. They are self-pollinating and very, very productive with very minimal maintenance. Honestly, the biggest issue with muscadine, I'll be honest, is the pruning. That muscadine, we only get out there, it's just Mark and I and the master gardeners help us out. Every few months we'll go out and do some work, and before we know it, that muscadine is a beast. So staying on top of the pruning really is the best thing you can do to help keep this a low maintenance plant. Now, golden varieties may be sold as scuppernongs. Very funny word to say. But if you see scuppernong, it is a bronze or golden colored muscadine. Full sun is a must. They do not do well in poorly drained areas as well. Give them plenty of space, regular irrigation until they become established. Mulch is fine, and do be aware they go dormant, so they will lose their leaves. So if you want some color in the winter months, you can have a decorative trellis for them to grow on that can certainly help. And then one of my favorite topics, herbs and spices. There are so many herbs and spices, and this is very well in North Central Florida. Honestly, Florida in general, you can have so much fun with herbs and spices. And this picture here was actually of a homeowner who was apologetic. I did a site visit for her, and she's like, I'm so sorry. I've got a lot of kids and I haven't been out to weed. And it's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, why are you sorry? It was beautiful. All of her cilantro had gone in bloom, which is what is pictured here. And there were so many pollinators, native bees, wasps, butterflies all over it. It looked like a bridal bouquet. It was gorgeous. So many herbs and spices, some are self-seeding annuals, or what we like to promote, really push, are the perennials, things that will come back year after year with minimal maintenance. Rosemary is one of my go-tos, thyme, oregano, chives. Mint, be careful with mint. I do not recommend planting mint unless you keep it in a container, and don't let it escape the container because it can be very problematic. But other things, especially like the rosemary, does great. And just for a little FYI, herbs and spices may be on the same plant. Cilantro is a great example. The herb is the leafy part, whereas the spices can be from the seeds, berry, bark, stems, or roots. So cilantro is the bloom or the plant, and the seeds are called coriander. So there you go. Vast majority of herbs and spices do need full sun and well-drained soil. One of the quickest ways to kill rosemary, for example, is too much water. And these are extremely attractive to pollinators. Some are even host plants. Dill, parsley, and fennel are host plants for black swallowtail butterflies. One of my absolute favorites pictured here is African blue basil, holy basil as well, Thai, amazel basil. There's actually recent research done on pollinators, and some of the best plants at attracting a diverse mix of pollinators were basils. Now, you might be more familiar with the sweet Italian basil. It has some issues, doesn't really care for Florida's heat and humidity, but there are new improved varieties like amazel basil and pesto that are heat tolerant and more sooty mold, powdery mildew resistant. And I actually have some amazel basil at home that's doing great despite the 110-degree heat. These, I mean, especially any of these basils, you can smell the plant from several feet away. It just smells incredible. African blue basil, the leaves are a much peppery taste to them, a little bit of an acquired taste. Personally, I think holy basil and the Thai basil have a better taste to the leaf. And of course, amazel basil and pesto is that traditional sweet Italian you're used to. But have a lot of fun with basils. Really look into these and don't be afraid to experiment. The yarrow I planted at home, gorgeous plant. It seems to be evergreen, at least in my area. We didn't really have a winter last winter, but it's been constantly blooming, it seems. And even chives, society garlic happens to be edible, but the chives, like this onion chives, is a gorgeous plant. The entire part of the plant is edible, but you get that lovely purple bloom on it as well. And here are some other pictures taken from one of our master gardener's yards, as well as our demonstration garden. Dill, beautiful little plant. Thyme, sage, there's even a tri-colored sage. The amazel basil I had just mentioned, this was actually taken at an HOA community in Ocala. They had planted rosemary in the medians. Smells awesome. And this is taken here at our office. This is holy basil. That looks very similar to the African blue. Excellent. All different types you can experiment with. And then for shade, of course, we got edible gingers and turmerics. Just make sure when you go ginger shopping, what you are getting is the edible. There's many varieties of non-edible but ornamental. And this photo is taken at our demonstration garden is lemongrass. If you have an issue with deer, this is known to be deer resistant. I did not realize how big lemongrass got, especially the seed heads. The grass with the seed head is taller than me, probably a good 8 feet tall with the seed head. So do give it space, but it does tolerate being pruned well and is a lovely plant that also smells incredible. And you can make some really good teas and many different Asian culinary dishes. Use that lemongrass. And then we'll quickly, because we always get the question, what about vegetables and greens? So with Florida Friendly Landscaping, as you may have noticed, we really want to promote the use of perennials. These are plants that will, once they're established, will be productive with minimal maintenance and care. Annuals are not like that. Annuals have a season. So in that season, they have to get to maturity, bloom, and seed all in typically one season, which means they're going to need the water. Not a problem, but we do recommend you keep the annuals and the vegetables, in a small maintainable area. So if you have a beautiful tree, you want to have some annual vegetables or greens, go for it. But do be aware they're going to need that constant maintenance, changing in and out. So keep it small would be my recommendation. Some particularly ornamental vegetables and greens include dinosaur kale, which is awesome. I was introduced to a master gardener yard who had this beautiful dinosaur kale, also called Tuscan kale. Ornamental kales, do be aware, like the ornamental cabbages, they're beautiful, but they may be bitter. So they may not be the best tasting, but you can certainly use them as garnishes. Swiss chard, which is pictured here, it's so pretty. It's like crayons growing out of your garden. Beautiful plant. is heat tolerant, full sun, very colorful leaves and stems. This is just a few of the varieties to look for your Florida friendly edible ornamental garden with a lot of color. Another one, I don't know about you, I'm a wimp when it comes to spice. I have not dared to try this yet, but the ornamental pepper, I have been told, is extremely hot. So let me know if I'm incorrect. I'm not brave enough to try it, but it looks like little Christmas lights. It's a beautiful little plant, an annual or perennial further south. So those of you down further south can enjoy this as a perennial. Malabar spinach we have here at our demonstration garden at the office. Beautiful plant with reddish tint to the leaves and even the flower. It can be grown on a trellis and it is heat tolerant. Similarly, the Suriname spinach, which I believe is also called Jewels of Opar, is gorgeous, related to purslane, partial sun, a small plant, very ornamental. Okinawa spinach, some of which even has that reddish tint to the leaves, grown direct or indirect sun. This is very ornamental in as well as longevity spinach. And then broccolis, greens, cauliflower. I still have not seen Romanesco broccoli in person, which is pictured here. So if any of the top right picture. So if any of you actually grow Romanesco broccoli, please email me a picture because I really want to see it. But mustard greens, I'll show you here. Gorgeous colors. So you have red, a giant incorporated with the traditional green. This was the photo I had taken at our Master Gardener's yard with that dinosaur kale or Tuscan kale, a really fun one with kids. The Suriname spinach with the cute little jewels. There they are, the seeds. Ornamental pepper, again, looks like Christmas lights. Rainbow chard and Malabar spinach. So just a few annual vegetables, or in your case, possibly perennial, that you can incorporate. And some definitely ones to mention, some honorable mentions, some of which include some of my favorites like Yopon holly. So this is a tree. This is the native. This is a weeping variety. There are dwarf varieties. We don't have space for a tree. Yopon holly tea is a growing industry in the state. It tastes amazing, like Christmas in a cup. So definitely look into Yopon holly tea. It is naturally caffeinated. Yopon holly is one of the few native naturally caffeinated plants in North America. The trees can get a beautiful little berry that birds absolutely love. Just make sure you get a girl tree. We got a boy tree in our demonstration garden. Pretty plant, no berries. So if you want the berries, get it when it's in berry so you know. But many different edible flowers, nasturtiums, which was one of Thomas Jefferson's favorites, the beautyberry we had mentioned very earlier on. Pawpaw is in season now. Pawpaw is a native plant. It's harder to find. You'll more than likely have to go to a native plant nursery to purchase it. I got one in my yard. I purchased from the native plant sale at the UF Museum of Natural History a few months ago. And it's relatively slow growing, but the fruit I've been told tastes like banana custard. So I'm super excited. It's actually the largest edible fruit native to North America is that pawpaw. Pineapple, this was taken alongside someone's pool and I. Beautiful bromeliad, many different fruit. Everglades tomatoes, the native plums. There's so many others to mention. So definitely visit that edible ornamental landscaping guide that I had previously alluded to, which also goes into some of these edible flowers like pineapple, sage, nasturtiums, and the portulacas. For those of you wanting container gardening, I don't emphasize containers because, well, containers will always need you, but there is a UF document that I found. I believe this was from Leon County. I don't know if Miss Jen will send a copy of this presentation out, but it will include this in the slide, or you can just look up container gardening, recommended varieties, and spacing. So if you are looking for containers. But other than that, here is my contact information, my phone number, and our address. You are more than welcome to come visit us here at our office. We have many beautiful edible ornamental plants to demonstrate, and that QR code there is to that edible ornamental landscaping guide for more information. And with that, I'll open it up to any questions. I appreciate y'all's time.
Thank you, Amanda. We really appreciate your great, very informative foodscaping presentation.
Welcome.
I do have a few questions. The first one, will Barbados cherry produce an 8B crest view?
No, I mean, you can probably get away with it and try to protect it in a winter, but that is definitely a more tropical plant. I've had multiple people here ask us about it. I haven't ventured into it yet, but now that we are half 9B, we may start experimenting with it, but I wouldn't go further north than 9B, to be honest.
Okay, great.
Mhm.
Let's see. I've read about California sunset zones that evaluate more than just max low temperature. Is there anything like this in Florida?
Not that I'm familiar with, to be honest. Well, what does she call them?
Sunset zones,
Sunset zones.
California sunset zones.
I would have to look into that, but I'm not aware of that, to be honest with you.
Okay. What is your preferred organic mulch?
Ooh, good question. So my preferred, honestly, is pine bark, also called pine bark nuggets. It's cheap, it's easy to come by, and it's one of the best at weed suppression. Actually, according to UF research, pine needles, also called pine straw, is the best at weed suppression. The benefit to that is it binds and it doesn't float away, but it does decompose and lose its color relatively quickly. The pine bark holds on to its color, decomposes very slowly, but it's like little sailboats. It likes to float. So if you have an area on a slope or that may wash away quickly, I would recommend the pine straw. If that's not a concern, pine bark.
Great. Thank you.
Welcome.
For loquats, do we want to allow the trunk to have multiple low branches or prune it into a single trunk form?
Good question. It's really personal preference. The loquats at our demonstration garden, we did actually prune the lower branches to make it easier to get down below. Helps with mowing if you need to mow, helps with weeding. But we also wanted to allow more airflow and sunlight to help with productivity. So it's really personal preference. You don't have to, but it may be easier for maintenance to prune some of those lower branches and kind of air it out a little bit.
Great.
Mhm.
Okay, so the next one is Florida's full sun in quotations recommendation still equivalent to 6 to 8 hours. This person feels like our sun is pretty intense and has seen some burnt leaves even in full sun plants.
Yeah, and the plants aren't alone. We're feeling it too. I grew up in Florida and I just had this conversation with my mom. Like, does the summer feel worse than it used to? And I agree. I believe it does. So to answer your question, yes, full sun is still that 6 to 8 hours, but that full frontal western afternoon sun is extremely intense. So if you do have plants that are more wanting partial sun, I would not recommend planting them on the southwest side. They'd probably be better on the east-south side rather than west, if that makes, or north, east or north rather than southwest. But yeah, that sun has been extremely intense, especially if we're in a drought situation.
Right. Could you give us the botanical name for the native mulberry?
Oh, yes. The native mulberry, now that you say that, hold on. Let me actually go. It'll probably be quicker if I Google it.
Sure.
Is it Morris rubra? No, that's black. Morris rubra. Hey, look at me go. Yeah, Morris rubra.
That's M-O-R-I-S.
Morus.
U-S. Okay.
And then rubra.
R-U-B-R-A.
Yep, that's it.
Great, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, a couple more. From what I understand, the native mulberry will do well as an understory tree. Is that correct?
Yeah, I have seen it do very well as an understory tree, yes.
Okay, great. So let me see if I can pronounce this. I have 3 arbequina olive trees.
Olive,
Thank you. One tree is growing nicely, 2 are struggling. Any recommendations as far as mulch, fertilizer, or pomegranate and my pomegranate is struggling as well. I think that's something maybe you should take up with your local extension agent, unless, Amanda, you have something just very quickly to.
Yeah, the pomegranate I would definitely reach out to, because I honestly don't have much experience with pomegranate given our zone. But the Arbequina olive, we did just add to our demonstration garden here in Alcala. We have a gorgeous one here by our office that's done very well. My first recommendation would be make sure it's not planted too deep. It's a startling difference between trees that are planted right where they should be, where that root ball is an inch or two above. Whereas just a few inches too deep can really make a dramatic difference. So if you can't see one or two major roots at or very near the surface, I would be concerned it may be planted just slightly too deep. The mulch, similarly, you don't want it right up against the trunk. You know, a light 1 to 2 inch layer over the root ball is not going to hurt, but make sure it's not volcano mulch. It's not buried under that mulch. Fertilizer, you can certainly fertilize with like a generic 10-10-10 or 6-6-6. After a year, year and a half, do not fertilize a newly planted tree. And we only recommend fertilizing if it does seem to be struggling, if it needs a little bit extra. But I would double check on making sure it's not planted too deep first, and making sure it got good water, especially for those first few months.
Great. Wonderful answer. When is the correct time to prune muscadines? Also, how aggressively should they be pruned?
Yes, good question. So the best time to prune muscadines is when they are completely dormant. So they've lost all of their leaves and they're woody. In our case, it was a matter of desperation. We had to prune it because it was literally escaping and starting to smother other things that were 10-15 feet away from it, because we had neglected it for too long. So the right time, the correct time, is when it's dormant, or when it's absolutely necessary. And you do get pretty aggressive with it. If you go to the UF document, Ask IFAS under muscadine, it will show you the proper way to prune the muscadine, keeping that main trunk and then just a few tendrils would be their best recommendation, to visit that site.
Great. Yes, that's a wonderful site for any plant information,
Yes.
fertilizer, any landscape information.
Mm.
So if you need a cover crop, would mint not be a good option?
No. Mint, granted, when you mow it, especially chocolate mint, will smell like an Andes mint when you mow, but mint, I don't think is on the invasive list officially, but I would not recommend it.
No, it goes everywhere and to everything.
Yes.
There's a lot of information in the webpage and a little bit confusing at the end. Can we consult with a gardener to visit our houses, or or a one-on-one to help us with our garden? I think they're meaning their IFAS during their IFAS extension.
Yeah, definitely. So the go-to is Ask IFAS. That's IFAS. That is our go-to website. Or Gardening Solutions is a very homeowner friendly website with just about every topic gardening related you can imagine. So Gardening Solutions. Now, as far as one-on-one consultations, definitely reach out to your local county extension. Here in Marion, we have master gardeners in the plant clinic. We have agents such as myself, and there are agents in every county extension service that can help you. So I don't know where you're at, but definitely go on the Solutions for Your Life website, which you see on that slide, sfyl.ifas.ufl, and look for your county. That'll be your best go-to.
Yeah, and I will say that not every county is equipped to do that, to have a personal visit.
Site visit, right.
Right. There are some that are very small, or one person doing the whole county. So it's definitely best to check with your local county extension.
Exactly.
Let's see. I have a cactus, spineless. Do you know what the name of that one would be? Yeah, it says in another slide. So I wasn't sure if that was.
There's the prickly pear, which we had pictured was on that slide, was prickly pear. As far as spineless goes, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Okay. Will pineapple guava grow in sandy soil?
Yes. The pineapple guava we have growing out on Baseline is in pretty much pure sand. Full Florida soil.
Exactly. Let's see. In St. Augustine, where should I plant a nectarine and a Japanese Japanese persimmon, shade or sun, and please comment on type of soil.
Sun, definitely. The nectarine, given that it can be prone to more citrus greening, the research has stated that they may be under less stress with a little bit more shade. So the Japanese persimmon, give it sun. The nectarine, if you want to plant it, it's not in a container in a lanai. I put it under partial sun. I would cover that with a tent or a screen just to be on the safe side. The soil, I mean, both the Japanese persimmon really doesn't care as long as it's well draining. Both of them need well drained soil. The nectarine will typically need a bit more fertilizer and citrus fertilizer, which would be recommended by IFAS under citrus care for homeowners. There's an entire citrus for homeowner website now too. So the nectarine, yeah, if you're not going to cover it in a lanai, partial Japanese persimmon, full sun, well drained soil.
Great. This is a really good question. The best fruit trees for small spaces, like 50 feet by 30 feet, maybe 30 feet to the house, maybe.
Okay. The Japanese persimmon stays small. Some of the dwarf mulberry, be careful because like I mentioned, dwarf Thai can still get about 20 feet. But you can prune those regularly. It's kind of a pain. Japanese persimmon, yes. The pineapple guava, yes. Some of the citrus, like the sugar bell, I would say yes. That's just a few that come to mind. Yeah.
Okay. I can answer the next one. Does Orange County give free tools or compost for people like the city of Orlando does? You should definitely contact your Orange County Extension office. I don't know about free tools, and I'm not positive about free compost, but I doubt that as well. So just contact your IFAS Orange County Extension. Just Google that and you'll find the phone number.
They have an awesome demonstration garden
Yes.
too.
Oh,
So
it's
you definitely should
wonderful.
visit.
When should we prune pineapple guava?
Honestly, it doesn't require any pruning. You can shape it up a little bit with some of the undergrowth if you want to make it more into a tree. But as far as when to prune, I mean, it's an evergreen, so it's really very cold hardy. To err on the safe side, you may not want to prune too late into the fall in case we do get a freeze. Any new growth may be more sensitive. So if you want to be really, really cautious, I'd say, between March and September when it's, we're past the chance of freeze. But with it being evergreen, it's pretty hardy and it doesn't need much anyway.
Okay. This person planted citrus in full sun. Should she move the trees to provide shade?
It depends how long ago you planted them. If it's been over a year and a half, they're established. And anytime you move an established plant, it's a major stress for it. If it was recently planted, I'd say yes, go ahead and definitely move it under a partial shady spot. But if it's been in the ground, especially over a couple of years, I'd say more than likely keep it where it's at.
Great. Just a couple more here. How do you use portulaca?
I use it honestly as an ornamental. I have it both well, I've seen it in landscaping as a beautiful plant, like a ground cover type. I have it in my raised bed. I have one raised bed devoted to vegetables, one to herbs and medicinal plants, and I have my portulaca growing in my raised bed just honestly because I think it's pretty. And my kids like to eat the pickle plant. So you can use it really as an ornamental low growing ground cover, similar to like blue days would be in that type of situation.
Okay. A couple more. Is Catawba grape the same as muscadine grape?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I'm honestly not too sure on that. Catawba grape is not something a name I've ever heard a muscadine grape be called. Have you?
No, but I am not the
Yeah,
foodscaping
that I'm not
expert
sure
for
of. I've never heard that name, to be honest.
Okay. Let's see. Is there a book condensing all of this information on the website?
Oh, yes. So, on the resources, actually, after this, I've got 2 pages of resources
Okay.
that I would definitely recommend. As far as books goes, there are many edible ornamental books, some of which even produced by UF faculty. I would visit the IFAS bookstore would be my first go-to because there are even books on herbs too. There's
Yeah.
some excellent ones.
There are great books.
Mhm.
UF bookstore is who to go to. They'll ship, wherever you are. Let's see.
Chip drop. Be
Yes.
careful, chip drop. It's free mulch. You don't know where it's coming from or what was in it.
Right.
I've had a master gardener have great experience with it, but with you not knowing what's in it, be cautious.
Meaning weed seeds and type of
Invasive
invasive
trees.
things.
Yeah.
Right. All right. Looks like 2 more. The best fruit shrubs or trees for a small space. We kind of answered that.
Mhm.
They
They
have
only
only
have
5 feet.
5 feet.
I don't know if
Oh,
anything really.
maybe a rosemary if you keep it pruned, but that
Mhm.
we only have 5 feet property on our side yard, Beth. That's going to be tight. You may
Yeah.
want to stick to smaller herbs, things that are not going to get very large. But if it's full
Especially,
sun,
yeah.
yeah, you can certainly have some fun with herbs, but a shrub or a tree, that's too tight of a
Yeah.
space.
Yeah. And especially if, you don't have a gutter system,
Mm-hmm.
the rain coming off the roof
Yeah.
is also a problem. One more. Blackberries Navarro would need a trellis for support is a question.
Most blackberry, I'm not too familiar with that specific variety, but most blackberries do bast with a trellis for support. Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
And then the blackberries, there's even wild blackberries are more shrubby. They're very, very thorny and mean. So give them space. But yeah, blackberries, depending, you can either keep it as a shrub or try to prune it to grow on a trellis for support. Yes. But I'm not too familiar with Navarro, to be honest.
Okay, one more snuck in and then we're done. Is a particular fruit tree you would plant inside a lanai area? Like, what would you suggest?
I have seen, what is it called? Calamondins, which is a citrus growing beautifully under a pool lanai. So other than many trees, as long as they stay small in a container that you can maintain a lanai, will do okay. The purpose for planting under lanai for citrus is to protect it from that citrus greening. But smaller dwarf varieties, very dwarf varieties of mulberry or smaller varieties of citrus would do well as long as there's good airflow and good sunlight.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Amanda. We really appreciate you coming on and answering all these questions about foodscaping. And I will we as a Florida Friendly Landscaping will let you know, everybody on the webinar when Amanda's project progresses to a point where it covers the entire state. So it's something we keep working on as Florida Friendly Landscaping and something that is a special project for Amanda. So again, thank you all for coming to this webinar. It will be available on YouTube, our YouTube channel, probably within the next few days. You can also find it on our floridafriendlylandscaping.com site under webinars. There will be a link to that as well. So thank you again, Amanda, and I hope everybody has a great day.
Great. Thank you. You
Thanks.
too. Thank
Thanks.
you,
Bye-bye.
guys. Bye.